Nobody wants to work anymore. Severance is the new series from creator Dan Erickson. It stars Adam Scott alongside an ensemble of actors including Patricia Arquette and John Turturro. The series follows the workers of Lumen Industries. Lumen is a shady, omnipresent megacorporation that seems to make everything and nothing. Certain Lumen employees voluntarily undergo brain surgery in a procedure called Severance. This procedure involves a small chip being implanted into their brain that cuts off the employee's memory. When they're at work, they remember only work, and this version of themselves stops existing when they leave the office. It's a great deal for the original version of you, condescendingly named your Audi. You show up to work in the morning and boom, it's time to clock out and play some Overwatch. You really gotta focus your energy on a great kill-death average. Watch out, Rack Attack, because Lumen employee 9782 is coming for ya. But what about your innie? No, I don't mean your belly button. Innies are the ones who are now exclusively office-bound. A version of you now exists that knows only work. The day is over and bam, the next day starts. There's no rest, no sunlight, not even a specific knowledge of the outside world and your place in it. You can remember that Idaho exists, but not that you were born there. The innies of Lumen seem happy at first, especially Mark S., Adam Scott's innie. Mark arrives at work crying in his car. We've all been there, Mark. But as soon as he gets off the elevator, it's all smiles and friendship with his 3 other co-workers. Adam Scott's transformation from outside Mark to inside Mark is amazing. The actor is mostly known for comedic fare like Parks and Rec and Step Brothers, but in Severance, he has a haunting seriousness. At the start of the series, outside Mark is depressed and harboring bitterness at the world around him. Personal tragedy led to his decision to undergo severance, and he's angry and resentful at the people who question the ethics of his choice. Spoilers from here on out for the first episode and a few small plot points throughout the season, but skip to this time code to avoid. In the first episode, a dinner party with Mark's sister and brother-in-law goes sour quickly when the liberal elite-coded guests each passively attack Mark's morality. For Mark, it's not about some abstract idea of ethics or personal freedom. He doesn't see his innie as a slave or a captive. For them, it's a topic for debate. For Mark, it's his life. They're right, though. Mark's innie is a slave and a captive. The world of Lumen Industries is a clean corporate nightmare. If you've ever played the now classic indie darling The Stanley Parable, you have a good idea of what these endless offices are like. The department our 4 lead innies work in is ominously named Macro Data Refinement, or MDR. It's a large open room with oppressively even fluorescent lighting. Everything from the computers to the sickening green carpet evoke the 1970s futurist office aesthetic. Lumen Industries seems to exist alongside the world of Ben Wheatley's High Rise. Outside MDR is the clean and featureless white hallways endlessly twisting into unknown directions. Map making is strictly prohibited. Mark S., who is always condescendingly addressed by his first name and last initial, works alongside Dylan G., Irving B., and Helly R. Helly R. is the new employee and the insert character for the first episode. The show opens on her proverbially being born, awakening on an office table to the only world she will ever know. She's not too happy about this, and it's through her initial attempts to challenge the system that we learn about the tools used to keep the workers captive. There is a scanner that can find any writing or symbols hidden on or in your body, meaning communication between a severed employee's 2 halves is virtually impossible. The omnipresence of Supervisor Seth Milchek means that the innies are rarely afforded true privacy. There are cameras everywhere, and the whole office is deep underground, judging from the length of the elevator ride. Even the true nature of the innies' job is hidden from them, and from us, the audience. They're all tasked with sitting in an ancient-looking computer and scrolling through thousands of random numbers. When Mark S. or any of the 3 others encounter a set of numbers that feel scary, they remove them into one of 4 bins. It seems entirely pointless, but the group is assured it is of the highest importance. To say it evokes Kafka is an understatement. So that's the basic setup for the series. The system is working at the start, but 2 very important disruptions take place. The first is Helly R. She fights tooth and nail against the tools of oppression surrounding her. Her continued defiance frustrates her fellow employees, who are happy with the only thing they have ever known. It's hard to miss the sun if you've never seen or felt it. Helly is replacing Pete. Pete was Mark's best friend amongst the group, and when Mark learns of Pete's dismissal, he is understandably devastated. Being fired is akin to death for the innies, as they can only exist at work. Mark is also promoted to Pete's old job, further complicating his feelings. The other proverbial wrench is Pete himself, who confronts Mark on the outside. He claims he has been reintegrated and now has all his memories. He knows of the horrible treatment on the inside and has been planning his escape. He offers to help outside Mark do the same, but the deeply wounded man is not ready to give up what Severance provides him. As the season progresses, there are deeper revelations about Lumen as a company. It's existed since the late 1800s and has been led by an expansive family dynasty descended from a singular self-proclaimed prophet and Jesus figure. Mark and his fellow employees live by his handbook, which is written in passages and scripture. Mark's work family is just as important to the story and contains some of the series' best performances. Irving B., played by John Turturro, is a true believer in the founder and his handbook. He has worked there the longest, so he's been alive the longest, a whole 5 years. The word of Kier fills his heart with joy and his work with meaning. However, he occasionally hallucinates black goo dripping around him. There are turns with his character that are some of the most surprising, especially with his relationship to Christopher Walken's rival department employee. Helly is the defiant new hire who cycles through denial, anger, depression, and acceptance about her situation. She questions everything about her surroundings, which sets her apart from her coworkers. Britt Lower plays Helly with a pragmatic intensity. There's this aspect about her character that's akin to a rebellious teenager, screaming and breaking things in response to arbitrary rules and controls. As much as Mark S. goes on a character journey throughout the season, it's often easiest to end up empathizing with Helly. If I were trapped in that place, I would probably end up throwing an intercom at Adam Scott's head too. Despite being surrounded by storied actors like Turturro and Walken, if there's a truly amazing performance in the first season, it comes from Zach Cherry as Dylan G. For someone who has no idea who he is, Dylan has an incredibly inflated sense of self. He sits slouched at his desk and collects meaningless company perks like branded finger traps. He's obsessed with constantly asserting his dominance over his peers by touting his accomplishments and binning the most scary numbers. It's hard to imagine yourself cheering for this smug status climber, but by the end of the season, he is the biggest hero of the group. Every moment of his arc is sold perfectly, and Zach Cherry brings an effortless believability to someone that embodies every annoying habit an office coworker could have. Patricia Arquette plays the cold and abusive boss who lords over her captive workers with an unapproachable authority. She is mandated by company policy to offer a congratulatory handshake to Mark, and is shocked and disgusted when he accepts. Actually, it's worse than that because Mark is offered the opportunity to request a handshake. Nothing is ever freely offered to these people. I won't spoil any of the twists or reveals of the series, so my overall synopsis will end here. However, I will say that the ending of the first season left my heart in my chest and forced me to pace around the room for a short while. It's a searing cliffhanger that manages to find the perfect moment to leave each character. Where season 2 will take them will be a subject of deep anxiety for me for the next while. Exploring the look and feel of Severance is also important, as the show is deeply unique in its style and execution. I mentioned before the 1970s office industrial look of MDR and Lumen Industries. The fluorescent lighting coating every inch provides a sickening lack of shadow or depth. There is no place to hide at work. Outside Lumen is a world that seems darker at first. A side effect of showing up to work at 9 a.m. and then instantly leaving at 5 is that most of your life ends up being lived at night. Outside Mark navigates a world of shadowy corners. At first, the world outside Lumen is more hostile and dark, a reflection of Mark's inner trauma. It's hard to heal from tragedy when your days are 8 hours shorter. 6 of the 9 episodes were directed by Ben Stiller, and his talent behind the camera shows in almost every frame. This is a much different subject matter for the director of Zoolander and Tropic Thunder. Severance is a gorgeous, haunting, and heart-pounding series that strikes at the very core of work culture. By undergoing this fictional operation, the characters amplify the toxic expectations of the management class. For Mark S. and his coworkers, their life only exists to provide value for others. Sure, they are seemingly rewarded for their diligent work with waffle parties, but they are being robbed of what really matters: self-determination. Severance Season 1 gets a 5 out of 5. Alright everybody, thank you for watching my review of Severance. It took a long time to put this one together, as you can tell, because the series has been out for a couple of months already. But that's no excuse. Go watch it. It's amazing. And also go back and watch some of our other videos. We have Let's Plays, we have other reviews, plus we have some new stuff coming up, video essays, fun stuff. As always, stay safe and be who you are.